When businesses want solutions to complicated problems, they call in management consulting companies like McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. These companies use an iterative, hypothesis-driven approach to solve tricky problems quickly. Let's talk about the steps to solve complex problems like a management consultant. I am Ramona Moodley, a former McKinsey consultant turned executive coach. I share tips and tricks I learned in my career that I wish I knew sooner. So if this sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe. The 7-step problem-solving approach starts with defining the problem you are asked to solve and making sure it's SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Let's imagine our client is a large global clothing retailer looking to reduce property costs like rent and utilities of their physical store locations. This is not a SMART problem statement yet. After speaking with the client, you get closer to a SMART problem statement. How can we reduce annual spending on rent and utilities of our retail locations in North America by 25% over the next 2 years? Now that we have our problem statement, we need to structure the problem or break it down into discrete hypotheses or questions for us to analyze. You can build a hypothesis tree or an issue tree to break down the problem. The hypothesis tree is made up of informed guesses of the solution and is used when you have some early ideas on what the solutions could be. An issue tree is made up of what and how questions that you will analyze to build up an answer to the problem statement. Here I use a hypothesis tree. To reduce property spending, we can reduce the number of square feet of the entire store footprint, we can reduce the price we pay per square foot, and we can reduce utility expenses like electricity, gas, and water. To reduce the number of square feet, we can close unprofitable stores, downsize large stores, and consolidate stores that are close together. With consolidation, we save space by closing one store and increasing the size of a nearby store, but to a lesser extent than the store we closed down. To reduce cost per square foot, we can renegotiate leases or move to cheaper locations. To reduce utility expenses, we could use less electricity or become more energy efficient. The tree is built in this layered way, with each group of hypotheses being a double click on earlier hypothesis. The goal is to build trees that are mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive, or MECE as it's often referred to. Mutually exclusive is a concept from probability theory that states two events cannot occur at the same time. What that means for your tree is that there should not be repeated items on different parts or branches of the tree. Everything can only be part of one branch. Collectively exhaustive means that your tree covers the full solution set and you aren't missing anything that could make it complete. It's good to always get other eyes on your tree to make sure it's MECE. The next step is to prioritize which hypothesis to tackle first. If we had infinite time and resources, we could address them all, but we don't, so we need to go for the highest impact and feasibility hypothesis points first. When we look at our hypothesis tree, we decide to deprioritize decreasing utility expenses because it's unlikely that a lot of savings lie there. We find out that our client would prefer not to outlay any capital expense to unlock the savings, so that rules out store consolidation and moving to and setting up new locations. At this point, there are 3 hypotheses the team would be pursuing, and we will be looking to answer questions like which stores should be closed, which stores should be downsized, and which stores should have their leases renegotiated, and what the savings will be across all those levers. Remember, our goal is to reach 25% cost savings in the next 2 years. Usually these questions are divided among the team, and they are called work streams that each person can own and drive towards a solution. Then comes planning. Here we build a work plan to tackle the questions, and we make Go slides for the output we are building towards. Go slides have placeholder charts and tables that we'll populate with outputs from our analysis. We need to do this first to make sure we are focused in the analysis phase. It's really easy to get carried away in model building or analyzing data, but we need to stay focused on the output to get to answers quickly. Before I planned my output slides first, I used to get really carried away in model building. There are so many interesting ways you can cut and manipulate data, but it's all a waste if we don't keep the end goal in mind. This is an example of a Go slide. It shows the overall waterfall chart of all levers to reduce property spend and how much each contributes to the goal of a 25% saving. Then I will have deep dive pages for each lever. Once my analysis is complete, I will fill out the slide with the actual real numbers from the model. But for now, these are all placeholders. It's also in this phase that you draft your survey or interview questions. You plan out your model on paper while taking stock of what input and data you will need. Now comes the actual analysis. In this phase, you will do the interviews, analyze the survey results, and build a model to answer the questions. Next, you will synthesize the findings from your analysis. Synthesis equals summary plus insight. Here is an unrelated example from McKinsey that shows the difference between summary and synthesis. On the left is summarizing, where you just state the findings of the analysis. The consultant says 68% of customers prefer ordering online, and 78% of those who do never visit a store. The consultant carries on with more data like this. The client is then left overwhelmed and wondering, what do I do with that information? They are wondering, so what? With synthesis on the right, the consultant communicates the same information but with more insight. She says, our analysis shows that we can close all stores except one and still retain the majority of our customers by having a great app experience. She states the implications and actions that result from the findings, not just the findings and numbers themselves. Lastly, you populate your slides and present your recommendations. Frameworks and templates are your best friends for this phase. Download my favorite slide templates in the video description and watch this video on executive communication frameworks next. The process is a cycle because we often have to visit the problem statement after some initial analysis because we find out new information and insights. In our clothing company example, if we only reach a 20% decrease in property spend versus the 25% the client asked for, we need to explore some more of the levers that we chose to deprioritize the first time we ran through this process. Let me know what questions you have in the comments. I would love to hear from you. That's it for this video, friends. Communication is key to the success of this iterative approach to problem solving. So check out this video on communication frameworks next to be sure you are communicating in ways to get your point across faster.